We are live. 07s for the thumbnail. Make sure to put those 07s in the chat and in the comments, whether you're watching live or you're tuning in from the future to watch the Barracks, your non-Euclidean intelligence network. We thank you for tuning in. We got big news today. Just like yesterday, it seems that Lenin is constantly proved correct when he said that there are decades where nothing happens, and there are weeks where decades happen. We'll be talking about the BRICS summit and the new members that just officially joined the BRICS coalition. We'll be talking about the the wet dud of the Republican primary debates from yesterday. We'll be touching on that. Not much to talk about there. And we're going to get some of your feedback to see if you'd buy the Trump mugshot t-shirt. I know I'd buy the Trump mugshot t-shirt. But before we get into all that, we got some introductions to make. To my left, he is the incumbent CEO of Wagner PMC North America Division. It's the Yankee Tanky.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have another exciting show for you guys today, especially when it comes to the rise of BRICS. Ooh!
Yeah, the next year's the 16th BRICS Summit, we will be joining in order to host a Lucha Underground wrestling death match featuring the Yankee Tanky versus the world. Below me, we have our resident schizo-in-chief. It's your friendly neighborhood milkman. How you doing, Milk?
I'm doing all right. I just want to know why you as a man are using toothpaste. Yeah, tell me that Tom's magic elixir is going to make your teeth whiter. All right.
Yeah, there's too much fluoride in the water already. There's no need to put that shit in your mouth.
Yeah, no kidding. Unironically.
Okay, I'm curious. I'm gonna impromptu put you on the schizo report right now. What are you brushing your teeth with if not toothpaste? Do you
Just
use
the toothbrush.
do you not use like a licorice root that you just chew on like an
I just brush with the brush, man. That's how you clean things.
So how do you freshen your breath?
Well, that's a psyop. You're speaking in psyops, Yankee.
Yeah, you're telling me that it's a psyop to even chew mint leaves?
Yeah.
No. Do you do that?
Chew parsley.
Sure. If you chew mint leaves, that's fine. I'm just saying that shit's not making your teeth whiter. That's crazy talk.
Yeah. I unironically eat the parsley before anything else on my steak dinner.
It's just calcifying your pineal gland is what it's doing.
Maybe this is why I'm having trouble sleeping at night.
Mouthwash. If you spit it back out, I think that's fine. Just don't drink it.
Were we supposed to drink
it back into the bottle? That's not what you're supposed to be doing either.
We're being economical.
Yeah, it's a fine line.
I'm a conspiracy theorist. Okay, not a wastrel.
No, I will tell you, Edward Bernays, or I don't know if it was him, but it was one of those people, did this campaign where they invented this phrase halitosis, which sounds medical, but it's not medical. And it was just an advertising term to get people to start buying Listerine, which was invented to like grease gears or something, and they couldn't sell it. So they were like, oh, well, what if we invent this breath condition and you drink this like gear greaser to get rid of, but they don't even sell it like that anymore. They say it's going to make your teeth whiter. Do you believe that shit?
Yeah, whatever. I need a soundboard so I can play the More You Know music after. But
it's fluoride's bad for you.
Fluoride is bad for you, but what's good for you is the fact that the Trump mugshot officially dropped just minutes ago. Trump had arrived in Fulton County, Georgia, around 7 o'clock Eastern time, and arrived at the jailhouse at 7:30. The official mugshot has been released, and we want to know from you if you would get the Trump mugshot T-shirt. I know I'm getting one just to walk around and be a little piece of history.
I'll tell you one thing, that if that is legitimately Donald Trump's mugshot,
It is.
that's a pretty good mugshot.
Yeah.
Confirmed. Yeah.
That's a war face if I've ever seen one.
Yeah, the one that was dropped was someone leaked it like 2 minutes beforehand. It was slightly more highlighted, but the official one dropped. Yeah, it's a bit more washed out, but I don't know. I like the dramatic shadows.
You know,
it looks pretty good.
it's really a testament to the power of the propaganda machine that all these liberals who are like chomping at the bit to bomb a country whenever they jail like Navalny or Guaido or one of these crooks is like cheering on the Democrats jailing their political opposition just because they've been propagandized with TDS for 7 years. It's a powerful system, you know. Like we're supposed to be the country that doesn't jail political opponents, but now all these liberals are like cheering it on, and they know like what it is. None of them think it's about like whatever crimes he allegedly committed. They know it's political, and they say, "Yeah, that's good." Like go on Hassan's stream. That's what he's saying. He's saying, "Yeah, it's political, and that's good because fuck Trump." It's crazy.
And remember, this is on the grounds of saying that we needed to prosecute Trump to save democracy.
Yep.
Considering Trump broke democracy to such a degree that he won the Republican debates and he was not even there.
Yeah, we have to cancel elections to save democracy.
The people have declared it. Yeah, Trump is the winner of the primary, and literally half the people, if not more, on that debate stage were briefed beforehand to just attack the new front runner, Vivek Ramaswamy. Like Chris Christie and Ron DeSantis, both their campaign team. I mean, Chris Christie is really only in this race to act as an attack dog for the donor class. He is on CNN every single day. Let me
more like an attack hippo or something. Fuck that guy.
The GOP's attack grimace has been on CNN, like a feature like every other day to drop some new turd of an opinion about this time Trump's really going to go to jail. Oh, the inside scoop about Trump from Chris Christie. So that's the only reason he's in this race. Well, Ron DeSantis probably at some point thought like legitimately, I have a chance of becoming the president, and is just getting steamrolled by Vivek Ramaswamy, who is a better DeSantis deception than DeSantis himself. People are already starting to line up behind Ramaswamy's camp, and yes, we have a clip pulled up here. But Ramaswamy himself is no different than than Andrew Yang was like back in the 2016 election.
He's better than Yang. Yang was a dork. Ramaswamy, I mean, he did a good job at the debate. He was the only one who came out looking good, and we can see why in this Voidborn post. Shout out Voidborn.
Yeah, this is one of the highlights of the debate. It's Ramaswamy, one of his moments. Let me just make sure. Oh yeah, Nikki Haley was there, resident. Also,
I hate that bitch, dude.
Fucking neocon cock gas.
She's literally Hillary Clinton. She's no different from Hillary Clinton.
Are you crazy? You're fucking. You are fucking. You fucking. You bloody bastard bitch. Fuck you. Bloody fuck you, bloody. Fucking mother bloody fuck bitch. Bitch, you bloody fuck you.
They fuck
Real-
you.
It cracks me up, dude.
Real footage from the debate stage last night. When will the Indian on Indian violence end in America? It stops today.
Shout out the Void Burn.
Shout out to Voidborn.
Yeah, that's a goated post. She's the worst, man. Nikki Haley was awful.
Yeah,
And one of the guys also one of those guys we didn't know, Hutchinson, was wearing a fucking Israel flag pin, which just
it's wild. Like, so for those who don't know the original clip here, Nikki Haley was saying, like, is quoted as saying that it's not that Israel needs America, it's that America needs Israel.
for what?
Which is a insane statement to say as a politician. That is actually clinically retarded. That is.
How do we benefit from Israel? How? Tell me.
I mean, yeah. You have Hutchinson, whose name I hadn't even heard until 2 days ago, wearing an Israeli flag pin.
Yeah, I don't know how he got on the debate stage.
You have Nikki Haley saying that we need Israel. Actually, we need Israel to get us into another Iraq war. Actually, and Vivek Ramaswamy, one of the few voices in the political race, saying that no, actually, we don't need to fund Israel. Even RFK.
He wasn't even.
Yeah.
But he wasn't even. He was like, oh, well, we shouldn't, we should just be friends. Like, I don't even know what he was saying. He was like pushing back without pushing back. He's
warming the bench.
He's actually very milquetoast if you like get through the bravado, but
the script. If you get through the script,
yeah, even that is like radical because the GOP is just the Democrats now. It's a uniparty, like explicitly. I mean, they all were going nuts on him. He was the only one who raised his hand for not funding Ukraine because they did that little hand raise game.
Oh man!
And he was the only one. All the others are going to fund Ukraine.
That was the other. That was the other moment immortalized in high definition from last night. Is Vivek Ramaswamy raising his hand? Ron DeSantis in 1080p just retracting his hand.
If you notice, if you look at Vivek's hands, right, it literally looks like Barack Obama. Like all of his hand motions. Everyone else on the stage, they're copying Donald Trump. Vivek's the only one out on the stage trying to copy Barack Obama.
Chris Christie actually called him out for that. Chris Christie called him out and said he was like a Obama clone.
Yeah, Vivek Obama Swami.
Which I think he was just calling him brown, actually. But there's actually a critique there, which is that, yeah, he's kind of doing Obama. He's kind of got the Obama like cadence and the Obama hand gestures. I mean, he's fake as fuck, but he looks way better than the rest of them. I mean, the rest of them are a fucking joke. Like, I don't know how the fuck Mike Pence thinks he's gonna. I don't know what Mike Pence is doing. Like, does he actually think he can win, or is he just?
He's just going on a book tour.
Is he just trying to sell a book?
For most people, this is true for every debate. Most of the candidates are just in it for the publicity. I mean, even before 2016, Trump would always put his throw his hat in the ring for publicity until he actually did it and then won. But he was speaking to the frustrations of the American people and not to the donor class, like everyone else here is. Because even RFK, who was speaking to the frustrations of people for the first few months, pivoted immediately to start shitting on Palestine and sucking the dick of AIPAC. And
it's really crazy how much of an iron grip they have on our political system,
So even Vivek just saying, no, I don't. We can be friends with them, but I don't want to send them money is enough to be seen as, this radical position.
No,
he's not that anti-war. He's pretty pro-war. He's just anti-Ukraine and anti-Israel. Like Ukraine it's starting to lose a lot of steam. So that could be said like, okay, that's not so verboten nowadays, but to be anti funding of Israel is akin to, being just putting a Nazi label on your forehead.
Yeah,
and you fascist. You don't want to fund the occupation of forcing Palestinians out of their homes on the West Bank, the illegal expansion of settlements, and the foaming at the mouth hardcore Zionist Jews in Israel who are attacking Christians, Muslims, and African Jews just in the streets. That's a radical position nowadays. So
he's kind of pretending to be like anti-war. Like he was saying, I'm the only candidate who's not going to get us into a new war. But he's extremely hawkish on China. Like his line on Ukraine is, we shouldn't be in Ukraine because we're strengthening China, because China's the real threat.
He was the first candidate to actually voice that.
Really not an anti-war position. So it's like we're in the wrong war is what he's saying. And he said that crazy shit about like we should just go give everyone in Taiwan guns. Like he's not really anti-war.
No,
there was nobody
anti-war. He's not anti, the only thing he's anti would have to be anti-FDA, because he's pushing the idea that we should have the right to choose. I don't think we should have the right to choose to fund Israel.
Yeah, Israel has a right to our money, bro. Are you against human rights?
Yes.
We here at the Barracks are 100% in favor of human wrongs.
Yeah.
So we, although it brings a tear to our eye to see this Indian on Indian violence on the debate stage, it's just one blow to the IQ, the Indian question, which has been gripping this country for the past 20 years. Or however long. I'm just making up numbers and words. But, we're not going to spend too much time on the Republican debate because, honestly, the Trump interview was the main event of last night. Everyone left in the Republican primary debate stage is just an anti-Trump candidate. This is not a Trump versus second place race. This is a Trump versus not Trump race. And Trump is 50 points ahead of everyone else on that stage. They are irrelevant at best. At worst, they are actively working to sell out this country to the donor class who wants to bring us into World War III. That being said, we have actual, real news for tonight. Things that bring fire to the blood. And I'm going to pull it up on... well, actually, I don't have clips for it, but yesterday was the 15th annual BRICS summit that took place in South Africa, hosted by the president of South Africa, which included all the BRICS countries, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, to discuss a number of things that involved their plans for the future. But chiefly amongst those plans was to bring in new members to the BRICS coalition. And officially, as of yesterday, they have announced the newest members to join in 2024 will be Argentina, Iran, Ethiopia, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates. Oh, and Egypt. That's a lot of the Middle East up in BRICS. Now, it is quite the list. And first of all, I wanna talk about which one on that list surprised you the most. because I'll go I'll go last since I've done a bit of talking, but yeah, Milkman. Just that's 6 different countries to pick from. Which one knocked your socks off?
The one that really surprised me was Saudi Arabia, of course, because it's the basis. It's been the basis of the petrodollar pretty much since World War II, and that would mean the end of the petrodollar. But I mean, my schizo brain is just working here, and I just feel like there has to be something going on behind the scenes because it's not gonna be so easy. It's not so easy. Like the dollar, all of the U.S. military, all of the CIA, all of the all the power that's protected all around the world is downstream from the dollar. You take out the dollar, you take out all that shit. And I just feel like it can't possibly be so easy that they just all agree, oh, we don't want to use the dollar anymore. And like, that's that. And I know, I mean, Lula is obviously sus in Brazil. I don't really trust Modi either. And Egypt is like a very Zionist country, isn't it? They're like they get billions of dollars in exchange for supporting Israel.
Well, they received the second most amount of U.S. foreign aid, second only to Israel, and it's
right,
yeah,
but
it's
since
to 1967,
right? It's since the 6 Day War because they sided with Israel,
right?
So it just doesn't really make sense to me. Like at the same time that Russia is like fighting this war for its life in Ukraine, we're just like all going to agree, oh, we're not going to do the dollar anymore. I feel like it can't be that easy. I don't know. I'm kind of braced for like some sort of red wedding situation, but maybe I'm just being a pessimist.
I mean, it's smart to have your expectations tempered by the reality that this
I mean, look what's going on in Brazil right now. Brazil pretty much copied the Biden playbook. They had their own January 6th. And now, just like the U.S., they're using it to crack down on all political dissent. But then at the same time, they're like going against the U.S. geopolitically. It just doesn't really make sense.
I mean, it's good to temper your expectations. The fact that the empires never die immediately, even after World War II, when the UK was replaced by the United States. Like the influence of the British Empire still. I mean, it still is. You can still feel
it's the same empire. It's the same empire.
Yeah, you still you still feel it. You still like see it just taking over Nigeria, still having influence in the United States. So like these things don't like collapse overnight. But the balance of power is what they are. Like a shift in the balance of power is what they're after. Because all these countries have really only been tenuous allies with the United States at any given point, and the opportunity to, I mean, they're also regional leaders in their like local corners of the globe, just in their regional economies. South Africa being the largest economy on the African continent. Saudi Arabia being the largest OPEC.
Well, Saudi Arabia is not a tenuous friend. I mean, I remember George W. Bush walking around with like the head of Saud holding hands in the garden, like a couple of friends. Like they've been our close. I mean, that's why they're so rich.
They buy. I mean, they buy a lot. They buy a lot of weapons from the United States, but it's not like they're buying to like defend Western democracy in any way. They're not.
No, it's the petrodollar. It's the petrodollar.
Yeah, they're very rich clients of the United States. But I mean, being a client of the United States has these leaders are smart enough to understand that it always ends poorly if you are a client of the United States. And not only do they realize this, but they have the economic and military leverage to actually do something about it, to form a bloc separate from that yoke. So yeah, I mean, all the members of BRICS have different long-term goals. They have different priorities. They're all on different continents. So yeah, we shouldn't expect this to be like some magical like fix, but it
Well,
does.
it does
It
sort of
does.
follow. It follows from like I remember like the Sauds were not taking Biden's phone calls, and they like snubbed him at the airstrip. And ever since the Biden administration took power, they've been kind of disrespectful and like making it clear that they're not really friends. And at the same time, there's been these rumblings that Saudi Arabia was responsible for 9/11. Right? We're gonna bring out that old chestnut. Um, like there was that gray zone article, and even before that there was some senator who was talking about like he read some declassified documents that implicated Saudi Arabia. I just think there's no way it's going to be so easy. Like the dollar is not going to be taken down without blood being shed. There's no way. Blood's going to be
Which,
shed somehow.
which brings me to my most surprising member state to join BRICS, and that's Argentina. Like Argentina, which is always in the news nowadays about trying to get more loans from the IMF, or Milei, the front runner for president in the upcoming elections, talking about just replacing the Argentinian peso with the United States dollar. You have, and all of this, the fact that Argentina is having the worst like triple digit inflation like in the hemisphere like over the past 3 years. Uh, the number of people living under $5 a day, $5 a day equivalent in Argentina went from 8% of the population to 35% of the population in just like 3 years. So they're going through it in terms of Biden Bidenomics. Which has been devastating Argentina, and their only solutions being to pivot to the IMF and to U.S. loans. The fact that they are now officially a part of BRICS, which on their agenda, I'll pull up a lot of the on Telegram. There was a list of priorities and resolutions that had come out of the BRICS summit. One of them being to be dealing in their all these countries to be dealing in their own local currencies, or even making a BRICS joint currency down the line. So on top of all this turmoil that Argentina has gone through because of Biden's disastrous degrowth policies and inflation, which has affected the world, Argentina and Brazil are now a part of the same alliance, and they are the two largest economies in South America. And they've always been talking about creating a joint local currency, even if just between the two of them. That never really fell through because both are so heavily influenced by U.S. Intervention, just stopping that kind of alliance. So, like the fact that they are now in a worldwide coalition, a block of non-U.S. aligned states, makes it much more likely to happen. They have international support now, international economic weight in their corner to actually make South America its own pole in the multipolar world in a way that just wasn't possible even a few years ago. Like I'm excited.
I'm just too schizo, man. Like I don't know. We gotta do the Brazil stream soon. Maybe I can get my hands on those Brazil emails because if Wall Street has gotten control over Brazil's central bank since Lula got elected, then that would have implications for any sort of Brazil-Argentina currency. Like you have to remember that the reason this Anglo-American empire has so much power is really it's not just because of the military, it's not just because of the central banks, it's because of it's like the snake oil empire. It's like the huckster empire. I mean, like the John D. Rockefeller's father was a literal snake oil salesman. So like that's the kind of person who succeeds in this system. It's all about grifts and scams and tricks. So if they could have a situation where it's like, oh no, our currency's being subverted by this Argentina Brazil currency, like I don't know, South American peso or whatever. But then they're in control of I mean, they're already in control of the Argentinian central bank, and they're also in control of the Brazilian central bank. It's just like it's like a heads I win, tails you lose sort of situation. That's the kind of shit they love, you know, where you think you're getting away, but it's just another layer of control. That's it. Just seems way too easy. Like the fact that Saudi Arabia and the UAE just agreed to join. Like, I mean, on its face, that's the death of the petrodollar, you know. But there's no way it can be that easy. So
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah,
Maybe I'm being
we should
resident
temper our
schizo.
expectations to like as we keep our eye on the granular details of like how each country moves, but it just gives a lot of breathing room to a lot of the leaders of the regions of the world that have felt the devastation of U.S. military intervention and economic salting the earth. So it's worth noting to the full list of declarations out of the 15th BRICS summit. Also, I don't know what you're talking about. Like it's like easy. Like if it's just that easy. Like this is the 15th BRICS summit. Like 15 years to even get 5 member states, and now to lay the groundwork to get all these new
But
members to
how much blood has been shed?
exactly. Yeah, it's
None. That's what I mean by easy.
wow. Well, let's read some of these declarations because part of them is preparations for war and deterrence for war. So I think there's something to be said for deterrence. The first being of these declarations being to express their full support for the presidency of the Russian Federation in 2024 and the holding of the summit in Kazan. So yeah, this most likely in reference to the fact that Putin decided to skip the BRICS summit this year because the International Criminal Court, this joke organization, decided to list Putin as a war criminal and to issue his arrest. And South Africa just happens to be a member state of the International Criminal Court. And so Putin didn't want to risk showing up to South Africa and some fuck shit happening. And he just winds up in a jail cell because the United States wanted to get rid of the leader of the free world, which is Vladimir Putin. So just calling for their full support of the Russian president, calling for greater participation of developing countries in international organizations, BRICS expressed concern about the use of unilateral measures that adversely affect the developing world, that being, the unilateral measures just being neoliberal one world order, like the WEF and the IMF and all of these shadow organizations. They are committed to strengthening agricultural cooperation to enhance food security within the association and around the world. Also, Milkman, feel free to stop me if any of these particularly grab you. They are noted proposals.
I mean, no, it's just the thing is they can say whatever they want, but the globalists in Washington and in the city of London will never give up their world dominion. They will die first. So it's either they're going to get like nuked by Russia, or we, the working classes in their own country, are going to overthrow them. But they're never going to just like let this happen, and like they'll never just accept multipolarity and be like, oh, okay, there's a bunch of other countries now. It's not going to happen. So either this is not particularly what it seems, or there's going to be something in the next few months, which is some sort of like defense mechanism of the empire.
I mean, look, the new face of global warfare is this hybrid warfare of the United States funding all of these client states to act as belligerents on their behalf, like with Ukraine, like they're trying to do with Taiwan, like they've done with funding ISIS and the and all of these different examples. So the fact that they're saying that they're going to be integrating countries to away from that client state model, and already is a big wrench in that relationship. So, man, has the deep state taken out both the milkman and the Yankee tanky? Must I, Teray Nasheed, hold down the stream by myself? Did I, Teray Nasheed,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
take down the Yankee tanky and the milkman's plane as they were did I fire a rocket at their plane as they took off from LAX?
I will stop having these problems on Saturday when I get Wi-Fi. I don't know what happened to Yankee, but well, don't you think it's significant that Putin wasn't willing to go and that she canceled his speech? Like, they don't trust like that. They're a little nervous about this whole setup.
And again,
I guess I feel the same way.
This is not. Yeah, this is not a magical utopia. Like they still have to be diplomats in a very anarchistic system that's been set up by the United States, being a hyperpower for the last 40 years, 30 years. But the fact that the United States can only wage like these global wars through the hybrid warfare model, because the United States military just doesn't have enough equipment to wage a full out assault on its own, and can't replace any of the equipment that it sends.
I don't think that's true.
We do not have the capabilities to replace any of the weaponry, any of the vehicles, any of the infrastructure that we send. If we got into a war with China right now, sure, we right now have more naval ships than they do, but they have hypersonic missiles that will sink those ships, and our capacity to replace those ships is nil, where their capacity to replace naval ships is far and away better than ours, and growing. Ours is shrinking.
It's true with China, but not.
It's true with Russia, which is now the biggest economy in Europe. It's true, with
what do you think? Teray, what do you think these UFOs are? I think they're actually from other planets.
I think that any of these terror attacks being carried out by the United States deep state are about as effective at curtailing the growth of the multipolar world as these Ukrainian terror attacks are at stopping Russia's special military operation. They're not effective at all. They are just a means of having grand propaganda for the ruling class to give American citizens. These Ukrainian terror attacks are not at all effective at stopping the Russian army. They're just very loud and deadly spectacles for the U.S. Legacy media.
What I think is, I think we're just.
It's the same.
I think we're offloading our old. All right, go. Are you done?
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't want to cut you off. You do this cadence where I think you're stopping and then suddenly you hum back up again, and I didn't know it was going to happen. Okay. So what I think is that we've been offloading all our old outdated shit in Ukraine, and I think it's not China's Vivek Ramaswamy is not the only person who knows that China is the real threat, right? I mean, the only reason Russia could beat the sanctions was because of China. So it seems to me that are these people really so insane that they would just dump all of our military shit in Ukraine? Well, that's a comfortable thought, but no, I don't think so. I think they've been dumping all the shit they don't really want and all the outdated shit. And I mean, we've been the global hegemon for about 30 years now. And China's only really risen in the last 5 to 10. So we've been the top dogs for a while, and all we've been putting that into is military. We don't have any fucking infrastructure or industry or
you don't hide a naval fleet. This isn't This isn't like the 17th century where you can just
What do you
like
mean
put.
it's not the 17th century? What's
You
changed?
you can't hide like a 300 ship like size naval fleet. You can't hide factories that build tanks. Like that's just we did like yeah we have an account of all of those things, and it is the largest stockpile. Yeah, but all of it's old, and all of it will be destroyed immediately in any sort of frontal assault that we started, and we do not have the capacity to replace them. They would be wiped out in a couple of months, if not a couple of weeks, because of the technological capabilities that that our rivals have achieved. It's like all that the U.S. has is these hybrid wars, and I'm not saying that the BRICS alliance is going to like solve world peace, but I'm saying that their diplomatic strategy of bringing in of integrating a lot of these smaller, weaker states economically is already like a blow to that hybrid warfare model.
Here's what I'm saying. I'm saying this this BRICS agreement is not the end of the dollar. What it is it's oh shit, Trump just tweeted. Wait, check that out. Check out Trump's Twitter.
I'll pull it up. You keep.
But what I'm saying is that this is a start. This is like a declaration of intent that we're going to abandon the dollar, and now it's on the Anglo-American Empire to respond. And I just think it's dangerous to underestimate the enemy here because, like I said, they've been global hegemon for 30 years, and like these people aren't stupid. You should never attribute to incompetence that which can be attributed to malice, is my view. And this is World War III shit. You can't just destroy the dollar. I mean, currency is the most important thing. It's way more important than like military bases. You don't need a military base if they're using the dollar.
And yet, the United States has more military bases around the world than every other country combined. Like,
right. Well, it helps because if someone like Gaddafi decides they don't want to use the dollar, then that's when the military comes in. I'm really curious what Trump just tweeted. Actually,
yeah, he tweeted the mugshot. Gangster. That's so gangster. Mugshot. August 24th, 2023. Election interference. Never surrender. DonaldJTrump.com.
Oh, he still got it.
What a gangster. Tweeting
That's a war face, man. Look at that. Look at that grimace. God damn.
DonaldJTrump.com. Yeah, he knows. He knows that mugshot is just a rallying point, which to all y'all in the chat, once again, I ask you the question: would you spend $20 for the Trump mugshot T-shirt? I can put it together tonight.
I'd get one for sure. I would get that shirt.
Will you hold the line?
I unfortunately couldn't wear it around my family. They all have TDS, but I'd get it anyway.
Yeah, that's yeah. Trump waited three. How long is it? 2 years since his last tweet, and man, guy really knows how to play the long game. Like that's
I think okay. I want to finish this thought about BRICS, which is that just the fact that Saudi Arabia and UAE agreed to be in BRICS, it just means there has to be a response. Either there has to be a response, or it's an infiltration of BRICS. But based on how Saudi Arabia has been treating the Biden administration, I would guess. I mean, they got a shitload of money. Like, go to their cities. They got power and money down there. They're not fucking around. So it definitely could be like a declaration of we're gonna move towards Russia and China. But that would be, I mean, if the dollar collapsed, that would be a fucking disaster here. Like,
Yeah. And
the
it's
elite
not.
cannot let that happen. It is a red line for them. They will send nukes before they let that happen.
And what always happens like throughout history is like again like these collapses. It's not like then and then the world ended. It loses its supremacy and the balance of power around the world shifts. Like the dollar will still be a formidable force. The Yankee Tanky survived my assassination attempt. The Yankee Tanky lives. Says we are having connection issues at Yankee Command Center. Please stand by for commands. Curses. The Yankee Tanky has foiled my plan to centralize power under my thumb here at the barracks. Don't tell him I said this.
I mean, we're just speculating anyway. Like, I wish I had more concrete. I'm really curious with Brazil. I really wish I knew more about what's going on in Brazil. Maybe this weekend I will get some intel.
Yeah, so other declarations from the BRICS are to advocate the use of national currencies in international trade, as well as between the countries of the group. Support the reform of which means it's not like the United States dollar is just gonna go away. Then it just loses its status as the safest commodity to like.
You mean the world reserve currency? It's not the safest commodity. It's the world reserve currency, dude. They can't let that happen. That would be a tectonic shift. Equivalent to the collapse of the USSR. Like, they're gonna go down.
That's not that's your doom profiteering. That's not the same. The USSR had tanks rolling through their capital, and there was like an actual coup against their government. It's not the same.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's why I feel like this isn't. There's got to be something more going on here. And the fact that Putin wouldn't go there, you said because of the ICC. What is South Africa going to have him arrested? Like, if they'd have him arrested, they're clearly not all in on this BRICS business, right?
And they know, again, they're smart diplomats. They know that the influence that the United States has, and look, the Anglo-Box in general. Like, they're not going to be taking unnecessary risks for no reason, but these developments happen. South Africa, like the president of South Africa, made a lot of these declarations. He led this summit.
Yeah, and he's ANC, right?
And
he's ANC, so he's probably a shill. Like, why are they not involved in this?
Just because someone doesn't meet 100% of your expectations doesn't mean they're a shill. He's not perfect. Yeah,
ANC is not a shill party.
Like there are no way to meet 100% of our expectations, and our expectations as
my only expectation is not being a shill. If you're if you're North Korea, if you're China, Iran, Russia, I don't think these are shill countries. But the ANC, come on, you're the one who was talking shit about Mandela. I mean, why does the EFF exist? Because the ANC
Mandela wasn't in BRICS. Mandela didn't have the balls to start.
Who even is this president? I don't even know his name. Who is this president? It's Mandela's legacy.
His name is. It's a lot of presidents' names to remember.
Yeah, well, but see, when you don't know his name, that's a bad sign, because when they're not a shill, they usually get shit on in the media, and they say they're doing genocides and shit.
It's because Russia and China are cool. I would remember his name. He's just like, South Africa just doesn't do much that's cool, and that's not to say.
Yeah, like I didn't know Tinubu's name, and then I looked him up, and it turned out he was a fucking drug dealer who got recruited by the government to go be president of Nigeria.
And Tinubu is a part of ECOWAS and not BRICS. Like, you can't base the start of a shift of geopolitics based on your individual feelings.
Well, like, what about
Like,
why isn't where's Syria? Why isn't, like, if it was like
Syria is
Syria,
not an
Iran,
economic power. Syria is not an economic or military
but the UAE
leader
is?
in the
The UAE is pretty much a city state.
and it's also a very large economy.
But
And
because it's propped up by the British.
I mean, what is that? What does that make the economic development fake? No.
It means that they are
That means
beholden.
That means that they are beholden up until they are self-sufficient, and then there is a dialectical shift, a qualitative change in the relationship between them and the people who had financed them in the past.
I mean, I think you're right.
This was true in the 20th century with all the African revolutions that popped off after World War II. The dialectical shift of the relationship between the African colonies and their European masters, and it's the same. It's the same for the 21st century. Yeah, the beginnings of these relationships are ones where a minority of a local ruling class sold out to imperialist monopolies. But when there's actual economic development going on, self-sovereignty develops whether or not the ruling class wants to stop it. It's going to develop if they have actual economic gains. That's why the United States tries so hard to just assault the earth, to make sure there's no economic development, to make sure that they shock and awe places like Iraq and Afghanistan, to destroy all of their abilities to raise food, to raise factories, to raise children. It's to maintain their monopoly so that they have no competition, to destroy your competition and not give them the tools to dig themselves out of a hole of underdevelopment.
Well, okay, first of all, a lot of these African countries that declared independence, quote unquote, really didn't declare independence, and it was just to sort of push back to the shadows of how the British were maintaining control. And also, like, yeah, you're right that I think the Saudis and UAE could, like, have this tectonic shift to Eurasia. I just feel like that wouldn't take the form of like a diplomatic conference and a handshake deal. Like, it would be more, there would just be more. It would be more explosive. Like, there's no way they're just going to be like, oh, we're choosing Eurasia now.
Like, history goes on. Like, yeah, there's never going to be a truly like peaceful moment of history, because history, as long as it keeps going, is all about struggle. So yeah, but I just mean
exactly,
like history, the brief micro era of U.S. as a hyperpower is over, and so it's just a matter of having to get acclimated to that. But other declarations from the BRICS summit. And apologies to the people in the chat if I'm blowing through these. Every time we start an hour late, we're trying to keep it like a tight hour-long stream, and we're already approaching 54 minutes. But yeah, the other declarations from the BRICS summit being the intent to strengthen the resilience of energy systems, including critical infrastructure, which, again, like I said, yeah, when you strengthen energy systems, when you strengthen those keystones, those absolutely necessary industries, it doesn't matter what your history is to countries that exploited you. You, just by having those things, gain self-sovereignty. Reaffirm their support for an open, fair, rules-based international trading system. Call for strengthening disarmament and non-proliferation, including the field of biological and chemical weapons. There was one about Iran.
That's a big one. That's actually a big one, because I think a lot of these countries know what's good with I don't know if we can talk about it on YouTube. With certain events that happened early in the decade, they know what's good with those, and they're very pissed about it. I think that, I mean, there was a Chinese diplomat who made a speech that was pretty explicit in condemning the United States recently for not complying with bioweapons treaties. And the implication is pretty strong. These people aren't stupid, and like if I know about it, then they fucking know about it.
Oh, that's another one of the declarations is to reaffirm the need to resolve the Iranian nuclear issue through diplomatic means, which they want Iran to finally get their nukes, the nukes that Iran has always deserved.
Yeah. If it was up to me, they'd have them.
Right. And then
and Israel would not.
Right. And the last two called on the space agencies of the countries of the organization to continue to increase the level of cooperation on the exchange of satellite data, which naturally leads into the last declaration to support the long-term sustainability of outer space activities and the prevention of an arms race in outer space. I thought that one was particularly interesting, just because that is the new battleground of warfare, is not just through cyber warfare, through like interception and sabotage of satellites, and GPS technology and telecommunications, all these things that depend on satellite technology, but even like space-based weaponry.
Space Force, yeah.
Space Force, yeah.
Well, that actually might be why like Saudi Arabia, Argentina, South Africa are like starting to pull away from the U.S. is because of COVID. That might have been like the spark that's like, okay, these people are psychos. Right, but yeah. What I'm saying is there's I really see two options here. Either one, things are not as they seem, and there's some sort of infiltration plot with one or more of these countries that are in the pocket of the empire. Or two, it is legit, and they are saying we're not going to use the dollar anymore, and there's going to be some sort of retaliation. Those are, I think, the only two options. There's no way that the empire is just going to sit back and let this happen.
Oh yeah, and the growing pains of a shift, this of this size, the growing pains are going to be equally large. History does not move linearly. Yeah, I mean, if the United States just is seething over the fact that Russia still exists and has been trying to like destroy Russia for like just having the balls to develop
since Napoleon.
Yeah, since Napoleon, just trying to steamroll over Russia and enslave all of the Russian people. Yeah, obviously there's going to be a similar foaming at the mouth to destroy any competition for regional authority, like in their particular poles of the world. But yeah, history does not move linearly, but it does move forward. Like these kinds of gains cannot be reversed. There is a reason. Like all of a huge majority of the revolutions in South America and Africa and Asia in the 20th century failed. But there's a reason that the colonial powers had to shift from a classical colonial type occupation system to a neo-colonial type system of financial debt enslavement, and they've never gone back to the original relationship of colonial occupation. It's because like they literally cannot reverse time. They cannot reverse the physical development gains made by a majority of the world's population. And this is, we might not feel the effects of these declarations yet, but it is a coordinated effort to bring the world into a great leap forward. And it's our job here in the United States to acclimate ourselves to this new world order where we're no longer a hyperpower. We need to get acclimated to these regional spheres. It's time that I learned the name of the president of South Africa.
But he's probably a puppet, so it's probably not even worth it. But you say we, but it's really not we. I mean, it's not you and me. We're just, subjects. It's the people in power. And I'm just saying, don't underestimate these people. I mean, COVID was a global psyop.
Careful with the C word. For the most I will remove you from this stream like I did the Yankee Tanky.
For the most part
allegedly.
worked. Okay, we need to get off YouTube because this is bullshit. But it for the most part worked. Like it was very, for the most part, very successful all over the world. Like they're powerful. Don't underestimate them. That's all I'm saying. I don't think a diplomatic meeting and handshake deals is what's going to take these people down. It's definitely not going to be that simple.
Yeah, man, it's a shame. It's a shame we're running out of time because I did want to talk about what the BRICS summit means for Wagner in Africa as well. Because yeah, I agree that like diplomacy is not going to be the thrust of the spear for taking down the U.S. empire. It's going to be like
It's
military.
like a spark. I feel like this
Right.
is like a spark.
Right.
People are fed up.
At some point,
a lot of countries are fed up.
At some point, I do want to talk about the effects of BRICS for Wagner, specifically as Wagner exists in the Middle East and Africa. In this post-Niger coup African continent, where Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger have all agreed to team up in the case of an ECOWAS invasion, of the ECOWAS being the economic community of West African states, led by Nigeria, to invade Niger for daring to overthrow their corrupt puppet president. Like the fact that those countries have agreed to band together, and the fact that Wagner is more or less being reorganized by the Central Russian Ministry of Defense to pivot away from Africa and focus more on Ukraine to like really wrap up this special military operation. I think that does say a lot about the military thrust of this new like BRICS-led multipolar world. Just to close out with some closing thoughts, for the stream, the military independence of continents like Africa, meaning that allegedly Egypt during this BRICS summit was one of the countries that wanted African sovereignty to also be a military independence. And so since the Russian Ministry of Defense was already reorganizing Wagner to pivot from Africa to Ukraine, like this was an opportunity for them to push for that military sovereignty of developing an African military for Africans that don't have to rely on mercenaries, or what he called mercenaries allegedly, which I think is is already, if how much of these claims turn out to be true, is already a big step in the direction of prepping for any sort of U.S. or European retaliation. Did you want to talk about Wagner and its relationship to like military sovereignty of the African continent?
Well, I saw that speech that Putin gave, or that statement that Putin gave, which very much implied that he was the one behind the bombing of the plane, right? I mean, that was a very bizarre statement. I feel like if it had been Ukraine, he would have been like yelling at Ukraine, but he wasn't.
Yeah.
He was like, it seems like Putin was behind it. So that makes me wonder a lot about the future of Wagner. Is it going to get incorporated into the army? Is there going to be like a new leader who's more loyal to Putin? Is it just going to be dissolved? Are they going to like rebel now? Who knows? It seems very up in the air. I mean, fucking Jackson's doing a stream tonight about is Prigozhin even dead? So who even knows? I mean, it seems like Russia's running its own psyops now, I mean, that coup that wasn't a coup certainly seemed like a psyop.
Yeah,
But I think what's really more important than just the guns is what China's doing. Is that China's going in and actually like giving an alternative to the IMF, which is obviously just debt slavery. So they're coming in and like breaking these IMF chains with the Belt and Road Initiative. If Africa industrializes and gets, the economic base, that's more important. The military follows that. So they can have military independence if they first have the economic base. It's the same as how the reason Russia is fighting Ukraine right now is because of China, because they didn't get crushed by the sanctions because China built this economic base. And now China's sort of exporting this economic base to Africa. So I think military independence is sort of downstream from economic independence. And I think in the next 10 to 20 years, we absolutely could see a militarily independent Africa. But it's like, I mean, Africa is the reason Europe is powerful. If Africa became militarily independent, Europe becomes the shriveled, like, transgender dick of Asia, and it's just nothing anymore. So they're just not gonna. I mean, there's gonna be bloodshed. That's all I'm saying. Like, they're not just gonna take this shit lying down. They cannot let Africa develop. It's the most important thing in the world. Africa staying undeveloped is the most important thing in the world to Europe, to Western Europe, and the U.S. by proxy.
Yeah, 100%
So
agree.
it's definitely not going to be so simple. There's going to be well, it's going to be an interesting decade. That's what I'm going to predict. I can't predict any more than that.
It's going to be an interesting decade. We can't say when these things will come to fruition. We can only say that change is in the air. That change must occur. That these are some of the weeks where decades happen. So we will come to you, our non-Euclidean intelligence network for the people, to make sure that you are staying abreast of this new multipolar world, which is getting more powerful, more real, more permanent by the day. With that being said, we will be closing out our stream. Make sure to follow the Barracks on x.com. Follow us at the Barracks Live. We have a Discord channel now. I want to make sure that y'all are a part of the conversation. You keep the conversation going even when we're not streaming. So make sure to hop into the Discord. I'll make sure to drop the link to that in the chat. And thank you all so much for tuning in. You who were watching in the live and y'all in the future tuning in. Milkman, did you have any last words?
No, I think we pretty much covered it.
Yeah. R.I.P. to the Yankee Tankies Wi-Fi.
Yeah, rip Yankee Tanky. He's underwater with a knife between his teeth somewhere.
Yeah. Here's the Barracks Discord link for those of y'all to hop in. But we have kept it a little over that tight hour that we were aiming for. That's okay.
We always do.
We keep making it bigger and better all the time. But for now, this is Teray Nasheed and the Milkman signing off. That's all we got. We're out.